But first up, let's talk to another phenomenal reporter. We have here my man Walker, who has been covering the Mooresville development here. There's been a lot of discussion about this, and I guess some controversy, you might say, because the people who live in this area don't necessarily want this development here for a myriad of reasons. Walker, it's been very interesting, and of course, the name has been tied to the Earnhardts and the land that they own, and it's really around this massive data center. And again, it's a proposal that's sparked a lot of controversy. Let's just start there, and maybe who you just spoke to about where this development is in terms of where this project is here, Walker.
Yeah, I actually just walked out of an interview with the mayor of Mooresville, who has informed us that the developer has withdrawn the application to build this data center on this property that's owned by Teresa Earnhardt, which is big news for a lot of residents here. They have protested at recent meetings. They have made a website that has garnered a lot of attention. It's also gone national, so it's been a national news story as well that they've had covered. So it's become a really big deal. Obviously, I think a little bit of that is attached to the Earnhardt name that has to do with that. But this is really a big win for residents in this area that the development has been withdrawn from an application officially. We learned earlier this morning. So that's the newest news that we have.
Good interview to have, and some good, obviously, I appreciate, obviously, the mayor's time, spending some time with us, and I should say with you, Walker, to get more information on that. Talk about some of the issues that residents have had. I know, we just started to cover this recently. We have filed a couple reports on it, but let's just talk base level, what folks are saying. And they have some honest, forthright, issues that they have with this center being built there, right?
Of course. So first is the amount of water that it's going to take for this property. A lot of those people that live in that area are on wells, so they're concerned about how much water this would take. Some of them saying that computers are evolving in their size, and years from now, if a data center like this is built and they have technology 20 years from now that a computer can be used in a much smaller format, you then have this large facility sitting there vacated. Some of them have attributed health reasons, health concerns, some of them attributing traffic and what this could cause to the area, but also deforestation elements that come into play and lighting and the visibility of something like this. I mean, this is a very rural part of Iredell County, and it's very hard to find communities like this in such a growing area. And that's kind of what the residents said. They really want growth is fine, but they really want responsible growth. And they felt this was just not responsible. But you have to add in the fact that if this property were to be rezoned, only 400 acres of it would be this data center, which then opens up the door for all of these other acres to be redeveloped into other stuff as well. And so that was the original concern, is that once you open this door, you're opening the door for other developments in the future. And then, thankfully, the mayor cut away from his busy schedule today to speak with us for about 5 or 10 minutes. But he also said, this is a reminder for people that they appreciate residents speaking up. And of course, this isn't over. They could come back and resubmit a different plan if they choose to. They also have certain rights that they have being on county property of what they could already develop on this site right now. So just being mindful that, yes, this has stopped, they've withdrawn, but of course, this is a property, and myself covering development, developers typically will resubmit a different plan later down the road if one does not get approved. So this is just a reminder for people that this could always open that door later down the road for more development.
Well, and just to throw in too, and as you've reported, residents have questioned why there's a need for another center of this sort in the same area, because there's one 6 miles currently that sits vacant right now. So, I'm not sure. Obviously, I know from a real estate perspective, that investment may not be healthy for the company that wants to be there. But when you have a facility already out there, and residents are looking at that, in their eyes, it doesn't make sense, correct?
Yeah, it doesn't. And it's, I myself lived in Mooresville for a little bit. I have family up here. I drive up this road often, and that vacant data center site. I've always wondered what it was and never really took the time to sit down and look until I started doing this story. And then I realized that that was a data center. So the questions of why can't they put it in there? Why this property? Why now? And those are, some answers that they wanted to hear from the developer. So it is interesting with that data center being about 6.2 miles away from where they're looking or they were attempting to rezone this property. Of course, the town of Mooresville says this kind of investment's great for revenue in the town, but at what cost at the citizens?
Last thing I wanted to ask you, and I know we kind of touched on it, but I guess, can I ask you this? Because I'm still trying to understand it myself, and I actually have seen some questions on Facebook, not necessarily on our pages, but just the I guess ire over the Earnhardt name tag being on that. Do you understand why there was any frustration with that? Did people speak out on that?
Yeah, so I think and actually spoke to someone today who said they felt as if Dale was all about preservation and trying to keep these lands the way that they were. And they spoke to a preservation, can't remember exactly what she worded it as, but they said that this isn't something they felt that the Earnhardt name supported, and that is what Dale would have stood for. And of course, having the Earnhardt name attached to it drew a lot of attention. And I think that's why it really got going, because this is such a big name that's very familiar with a lot of people in Iredell County. And there are a lot of other Earnhardts that spoke out at previous city or town meetings. So obviously, a lot of frustration from people when they heard that. But some of them felt that this is not what he would have wanted.
Some very interesting revelations. And as you said, this may not be over. So, we know how hot developing is, right now in Charlotte and around the area. We saw the real estate, Howard Hanna, Allen Tate Real Estate Group changed their entire name yesterday, and that was a big thing as well. So, again, this is a hot market for developing and for growth. And so, again, as you said, and, Mooresville's a hotbed. I mean, that's where a lot of NASCAR teams are, a lot of NASCAR individuals, are home bases. I know they live a lot near Lake Norman and other areas as well, Concord. But there's a lot of history in Mooresville in terms of just racing and motorsport as well. So we will see. We'll see if this comes back on the plate. But looking forward to your entire report. Hopefully, didn't give too much away, Walker. But thanks for your time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's definitely interesting.
All right, we'll see you tonight at 4, 5, and 6.